Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Please take a seat. So nice to see you. So welcome. We're really happy to host you today and to welcome you for this final presentation of the M1 projects of the première année, the master of this P20 cohort. Thank you for all being there. So just as a start, if it wants to work, no, thank you. I want to give you some reminders of what are the M1 projects. So the objectives of the projects, si tu veux bien cliquer. So the M1 projects are really an introduction to writing, design, and development of an original project. So originality is the key. It's also the first time they have a longer period to experiment teamwork. And they have been asked to develop a 10-minute interactive experience. We all started mid-March till now, so it's a bit more than 3 months to do this work, with, along with all the lectures they had. So it's less than 3 months of work, actually. We dedicated 2 days for this presentation. So yesterday, we spent the whole day testing all these games and interactive experiences. I hope you enjoyed it. You will tell us. And today, we will hear, each team will present the statement of intent they followed, the development they made, and give us some feedbacks about it. They will each have 10 minutes to present that. And after these 10 minutes, I will ask one of the members of the jury, 1 or 2, to share what they felt when they tried the games, when they tried the interactive experiences. And then we're going to start some discussions for each team. So each team will have 25 minutes, 10 minutes of presentation, and 15 minutes to exchange with you, the jury. We will ask the jury to evaluate their work according to their originality, the understanding they had of the intents, the quality of the interactive experiments, and the technical achievements. Here is today's program, quite heavy. So I won't take so much time, but so you will see we will hear 7 projects this morning, 6 this afternoon with a break. At mid-morning, at lunch, where you can have some more demos if you need, a break in the afternoon, and we will conclude before 5, so for the one that needs to take a train, they would be able to do so, and for the one who were wise enough to stay a bit more, they could keep exchanging with the teams, and also try even the experiments even more. So here is a view of the whole diversity of projects. It was a rich year, so 13 projects. Each team was, there were 4 to 7 students per team. You will see that most of the people of this cohort worked on several projects. But let's, enough of my talk, maybe let's give the words to the students now. And let's start with the first team of this morning, Disco Gecko. Please welcome them.
Imagine you're a little gecko in a big city, and the only thing you do is just work all day, every day, even on the weekends. So after all this, do you really want to go back home normally, or do you want to do something more, like go to the disco! Okay, so all geckos know this jungle. This is the discotheque jungle. It's their favorite place, and they all go there to party and to be free. So you people will play as 4 little geckos, 4 friends, who will play their favorite little activity, what they call the seek and stick. It's a little game where in 2 teams they have to find their friend first and kiss them with their big, large tongue to win. So our intentions for this game were a unique 80s disco jungle vibe, some party game aspect, very fun and chaotic and simple, and of course a game that could be here for everyone, that could be played anytime and anywhere.
For our 80 disco jungle, we wanted something really disco and really jungle. So for the disco side, we wanted to do music as our main tool. So we use, we ask our 2 external composers to work with 2 main audio sources who come from directly from the 80s. First, FM synthesizer, like this beautiful DX7. And then drum machine, because drum machine is cool, and a lean drum sound like this. We also use lightning to enhance the 80 vibes of the game. For the jungle, we try to put ferns and vegetation everywhere we could. We wanted to make the player feel he's really in the middle of the jungle.
So, here are little lads. They got round body shape to go along with the mood of the game. And it goes the same with their animation. For help distinguish them in the crowd, we got accessories to put on their head, like cap, bob. It helps the visibility of the characters.
Geckos have very little arms, so it's not really practical to act with objects. But they can use their tongue for absolutely everything. So they can pull, they can turn, they can eat, interactionable object with their tongue. You can see on the onboarding, the players can interact with all the actionable object they will see in the game, but they won't see the effect because they will discover it in the game. So the controls are really simple. You can just move with the joystick, and then you can pull your tongue with every other controls.
So now to talk a bit more about the party game aspect, the wacky party game aspect of this game. Let's remind the goal. You have to kiss your mate after finding them. So you have the 2 teams, Shining Star Fruits and the Plums of Passion. And you have to do this 3 times, around 3 rounds. So you have to win 3 rounds to win the actual game. The trick is every player has a different camera angle. Directions won't help you, north, south, east, west, nothing will help. You have to communicate. So how do you win? Well, to make your way in this jungle, you need to see those landmarks, very unique structures that geckos made, and that will help you find your way. But that's not everything, because you can also use some of these landmarks to buff yourself or sabotage some enemies to be the first to kiss your friend.
Geckos are not only super geckos, they also need to eat, and for that they build a kitchen where they can eat tasty slugs that will make them grow bigger. For that they build a kitchen with anything they could find in the jungle, and they also make art with security cameras that they obviously legally took in the city. I mean, they only put camera in trees, but you know, it's art. So gameplay-wise, it will zoom the camera, the POV of the team you choose. For the voodoo one, nobody really knows why it's here, but Gecko found out that they can control other geckos with it, so well, they let him here. It's funny, I guess. They also transported ad signs legally again. It can make a landmark, a visual landmark that you can remember.
So there is a lot of things happening in this disco jungle. There are music, ambience, the tongue noise, breath, a lot of stuff. So for make some order to that mess, we use two tools: volume attenuation, so the music and the ambience get modulated by the SFX and the landmark audio, and listener specializations. Player on the left side of the screen will hear their sound on the left side, on the left speaker, and the right side player do so.
Keep the party game aspect into the game, we wanted to add replayability to it. That's why we chose to use procedural generation for generating the map. It means that all the landmarks you just saw, but also the crowd, the decoration, and the players are all placed randomly at the beginning of the game, following certain rules. This makes each game different and feel more unique. But another decision we made was that between rounds, the map doesn't change. Only the players are teleported to a random location. It lets players learn the map and have a feeling of progression throughout the game. Okay, so now we are going to watch the gameplay.
Singing the nights with you, nobody but you and me. I don't care now, I'm with you, or I will never be free. It don't feel right to spend all nights kissing a stranger.
Our last pillar is that we wanted a game that can be played by anyone. So we worked hard on replayability and accessibility to ensure anyone can have fun playing. Plus, there's an extra feature that boosts its flexibility. So, Disco Gecko is a 4-player party game. But you know what's better? There's just a simple party game, an online party game. But it gets better, because you can also play both at the same time. Disco Gecko offers both the local and gameplay and the online gameplay at the same time.
So because there is a lot of information for players on the screens, we organized 2 playtests during our production, which helped us to improve our game and its readability. For example, because thanks to the tips the player gave us, we could improve our feedbacks, especially for landmarks. We can also improve the spawn location for that they do not feel the randomity of the game. We also find the right size of the map, and we also modify the landmarks effects so it can be juicy for them. So, in terms of accessibility, as Tom said, we try to make a game for everyone. So, for the controls, you can choose to hold the button to use your tongue if you want. You can also have aim assist if you want the game to be easier. Every keyboard controls are remappable. For the controller, it is not, because every button allows you to use your tongue. In terms of audio, players can change the sound distinctly, like the MIN. They can change the music, the ambience, the SFX, the landmarks, and the UI. And there are also filters for people with sensitivities. Finally, for the graphics, we developed a high contrast mode and an epilepsy mode that will remove everything that can be a problem for people with these disabilities. And there is also a possibility to play in a window screen. You can also activate or deactivate VSync and change the resolution. And finally, there are game settings to modify the games, the rounds, and also the landmarks that can be a problem for some players.
But is DecoGecko only a M1 project? Actually, we really want it to be streamable on Twitch, so we plan to polish it a little more and send it to streamers that are on Twitch. And we also applied for the Busan Indie Connect Festival, so we hope you will support us. This is the team and our two externals that made all the musics of the game. Foucault Desrousseau and Clara Rotti. They are students of the MAV at Lyon. And finally, to conclude, you were a lot to come yesterday and test DiscoGecko, so thank you for your feedbacks, and I hope you have fun. And if you want to test it a lot, today we are waiting you in our stand in 0E5. Thank you.
Thank you. So as I said, I would like to have some volunteer just to share the feedbacks they had. What did you, yeah, Jaime. And please, each time you want to speak, can you present yourself? Thank you.
Hi, Jaime from UTAD. First of all, congratulations for your job. I think it's quite amazing what you have been able to achieve in so little time. I think that it's quite interesting how you have kept your concept simple and yet so funny at the same time. But I would also want to congratulate you in the accessible side of the game. It is quite accessible. Of course, it could be improved in the case of contrast and people with visual disabilities, but the rest, the simple controls, how you have thought also of different game modes, it's quite nice. So congratulations for that. It is an amazing achievement. But I also would like to ask you for how will you achieve that online connection? Will you also create a chat voice, or how will players communicate as is a key part of the experience? But again, congratulations.
So thank you, first of all. So when people play online, we assume that they use an external chat service like Discord, for example. So yes, we do not plan on having a voice chat.
Will you also explain that in the game, like use external source, something like that?
Yes.
Nice. That's a good one.
Okay, hello. Javier from Voxel. As we told you yesterday, we enjoyed a lot. Love was in the air, in the sense that it's a nice experience, sweet, and the best of disco experience. At the same time, well, the possibility of having even more mini games, in the sense that you have game modes in that sense, but at first you are so in a rush to find your love that maybe you cannot just explore and experience because you are just trying to win the 3 rounds. At the same time, when you are in the hub, as I told you yesterday, at the beginning, of course, if I have things around me that I can interact with, as long as I saw you can eat and grow, you saw me. I just came directly to grab the food, to get bigger, and just to get my partner from the visuals more easy to spot me. But I didn't I didn't take into account of the trigger to get into the disco. So as I told you, maybe that app need to have a corridor or a test area or something more guide, just to, okay, you want to try how to grow, how to throw your tongue or whatever, but more guided. And then just go into the disco. It's the only thing. For all the rest of the experience, it was wonderful, it was fun, and the music and the sound is really designed in that sense. So congrats. As my partner says, okay, accessibility is quite nice. In the sense, okay, you need to use a lot of colors and many other things, so okay, it's quite difficult in that sense. But mainly you have achieved many, many different points in a short time. So congrats. Okay.
Thank you a lot for your feedback. Yeah.
Some other feedbacks or comment or questions? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Melisandre, I didn't see you.
Thank you. Very nice presentation. Unfortunately, I couldn't play it yesterday, so I hope I will have the time today to check on the game. The only thing I think I missed in the presentation is actually gecko mating with another gecko. I haven't seen that yet. So since it's one of the objectives, I think I missed that image in the presentation, but otherwise, it's very nice. Oui. Oh, sorry, I didn't present myself. So I'm Melisandre Monatius. Voilà. There is an image about, okay. Yeah, because since I may not have the time to play, are they mating?
Actually, the kissing thing is just to win the round. So like it's very quick actually.
It's
like
very quick.
They just do it and then that's all.
But we have to respect the intimacy of gecko.
No, but I thought it was important. But yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Some other comments or remark? A question, thank you. Je vois rien ce matin, pardon.
Stéphane, thank you for your presentation and your game. I have just a kind of technical question. If you play online, don't you think you will have some problem with the mix of the sound and eventually the latency? I am not sure it's really a problem, but did you thought about that?
Yes, we thought about it. But since it's a split screen, it's like the exact same game and the exact same sounds as if you were playing locally. So we have no problem with that. And for the latency, since the players are controlling their characters, we have no problem with latency either. We have the typical online latency, but it's manageable.
Another reaction? Question? Yeah.
Just one more detail. Please play more and explain better the power-ups. It's amazing. It's simply amazing. It's so funny. It works so well. Explain them a little bit better, as Javier said. But also in the... I know that maybe to enhance the contrast of characters is not the idea, because it's a seeking mechanic and it's quite important. But enhance the visibility and the placement of the power-ups also during gameplay. Because, yes, you need to find them, you need to find those objects, but it's so fun. It's so fun to use them. So enhance them more and get crazy with it, as you have crazy with the rest. So, again, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to rethink a lot about our onboarding and like explaining the things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. If no more questions or remarks, we're gonna thank again the team and congrats them for this experience. And see you at lunchtime for Melissa's experiment. And let's welcome the second team of this morning, Ace of Saturn.
Elle va à gauche, on la voit pas si. Ouais.
Là, ouais.
Voilà.
Thank you.
Hi. So, some minutes ago, you were all lost deep into the jungles alongside wild disco geckos. But a new adventure awaits you now, and this time, it's in space. Welcome to Ace of Saturn. And to give you a taste of what's to come, here is our new trailer.
Regardez ça. Cette gamine pense pouvoir me battre à un vulgaire jeu de paume. Même privée de ton pouvoir, tu restes bien arrogante.
Le pouvoir que tu m'as volé, il était à moi. Mais peu importe. J'ai hâte de commencer le vrai match.
Hé Sat, ma jolie, tu dis quoi d'un coup de main? Si tu prends mon spécial, ta victoire est assurée.
J'ai exactement de quoi exaucer son vœu.
File comme une étoile, Sat!
Miracle mercureux!
Thank you very much. So as you've probably seen in this trailer, Ace of Saturn is a single-player game of galactic tennis opposing you, the planet Saturn, and your opponent, Jupiter. Jupiter stole your magic power away from you, and you've got to get it back by defeating him in a duel of rackets. On top of having 3 different types of shots you can use during the match, there are also 3 allies that are helping you: Mercury, Venus, and Mars. You can choose 1 ally per set who will come to your aid to help you win. Our game is composed of 4 pillars: flow, fantasy, juiciness, and empowerment. We will use these pillars as the common thread of this presentation, starting with flow. So Ace of Saturn's core gameplay is meant to provide choices to our players. It has a growing learning curve, which makes it so they feel more and more in control as the match progresses, but without it being too easy for them either. 3 buttons and the left joystick of the controller make the player's entire basic moveset. So with Y, as you can see, they can do a lob shot to the far end of the court. With B or with X, they can do a right-hand shot to the middle of the court. And with A, they can do a vicious drop shot that bounces at the very front of the court. The player will have to use all of these buttons to defeat Jupiter's AI.
We got inspired by real-life tennis and what makes it fun. We decided really early on that the 3 shots, the basic moveset will be the same for Jupiter and Saturn, to give a more realistic duel and not just a feeling of a boss fight. For the AI, we decided that for more understandable and easy to grasp aspects, Jupiter will mostly shoot in the way he is moving. So if he's moving far right, he will shoot mostly far right. And sometimes, to just it up a little and make it more unpredictable, he will do a trick shot. A trick shot is a cross shot. It means that when it goes far right, all of a sudden it's shooting far left to surprise the player. And lastly, we wanted our points to be fun and interactive and short, not take too much time. And for that, we implemented an hidden stamina system where Jupiter will get more and more tired the more the point is going, to give the player a chance to to beat it in the long run.
The game takes place in a fantasy environment, so that brings us to our second pillar, fantasy. We wanted the characters to not, the game to not look realistic, so for that we took inspiration from sports anime and arcade games. It really helped us get that over-the-top and colorful factor while making our characters look charismatic. At Saturn, the player will meet many other colorful characters, the other planets. Each one of them represents a planet, so to make their design, I took inspiration in the real ones. So for example, Jupiter has that red birthmark around his eye and an eye on his belt to reference the great red spot from the Jupiter planet. And Mars has many metallic elements to reference the iron that gives the planet its red color. I also took inspiration from their symbols. So Mars's arrow is present as his tie. Venus is using a mirror, and Mercury has these little horns on his headset, and that's it. I had the challenge to make their personalities shine quickly through only 1 or 2 poses, because their personalities are linked to their attacks in the games. So for example, Mercury is warming up, he looks like he's running, because in the game he helps the player with a dash. The whole anime and arcade inspiration is also brought to the UI with the use of screen tones and neon colors that pop. The UI mixes space and tennis visual elements and is mostly bright against a dark background, so it looks like it's shining the same way stars shine in space.
As Morgan said, the characters shine in their design, but it was my job to make sure they're also shown in the story. Humorous dialogue is peppered between the sets, and in-gameplay barks reinforce their big personality. Each character has their own different ties with the other characters. For example, it is implied that Mars is Venus's ex-boyfriend, and it's understood that Venus' new conquest is Saturn. The narrative elements are meant for 2 things: to evoke feelings in the players, whether it be anger or joy or amusement, even frustration, and to reward them for playing well. Indeed, the story unfolds every time the player wins a new set, resulting in new dialogue, new characters, and new powers. Which brings us to our third pillar, it's juiciness. Each ally has their own power that the player can use. This is to inject the game with personality, replayability, but also with juice. Haptic, visual, and audio feedbacks accompany each mechanic. Our VFX and our in-game sounds are all designed to be enjoyable and for the player to want to repeat them.
Indeed, the special effects and attacks are made to represent each character. They are distinct and quickly identifiable. They are also in harmony with the universe they are in. For example, Mercury special dash make spark particles that follow the player. And each of the different shots have a different color that help the player recognize them. The VFX also give rhythm and make each shot feel new and exciting. The character in 3D also need to match their 2D version. Even if the style is more simple, this is why we went for meal-like character models. They are made to be recognizable with one glance. Their texture remains simple so that the player doesn't have to understand complicated information. The main show is on his ball and his trajectory.
So to sum up, what we have here, in fact, isn't just a regular tennis match. We are in space, S-P-A-C-E, space. So as a sound designer, I had an appointment with doing nice feedbacks, I guess. And as far as I've tried to walk around this limit to propose something matching accurately the over-the-top vibe we wanted to give within the game. So with great sounds comes great will to be understood, right? We want the sounds to evoke what they meant to do in the game. So I've iterated the sounds quite a lot to make them quite evocative. So if you do a drop shot or if you do a lob shot, it means what they convey in the sound channel too. And I tried to make them more accessible by design. And this was my main point on this project. What they would sound like in the mind, they had to do the same effect in the gamers' spirits. So here are some quick examples. So there is some music in the background. So it's a nice dreamy feeling. And we've got some sound SFX too to accompany this shot. For example, the simple shot, the normal shot. It's those ones. The second one, for example, is drop shot. So it's very low, and it's low because it goes beneath the ground. And for example, and here is another example, we've got specials too, and I tried to manage those special codes by doing some personification. So there is Venus Q here.
Thanks to our playtests, we were able to confirm that our feedbacks and our gameplay were indeed enjoyable, as it was intended. And we could iterate on those who were not fully clear for our players. For example, the visuals of the drop shots, and also the sound of the lob shots.
Thank you. We will lastly talk about our last pillar, empowerment. One of the main focus of our game was make sure the player is always in power. To make this, one of the main struggle we have with the game is the place of randomness in the game. We will try to find a great balance because the game needed randomness to be replayable, for the points to be fun to play over and over again. But too much randomness implies that the player cannot make a choice. So I think we tried to find a nice balance between the two, and I think we did it quite well. Also, to enhance empowerment, we choose to give to the player all the information he needed. So to that matter, we choose to give him the information about the two ribbons, not only one in like Mario Tennis games, but the two for the reason that if a skilled player understands that he is too late to go for the first rebound, he can try to go for the second one and catch it in extremis. And lastly, we wanted to allow several playstyles for player, and for that reason we have two main playstyles because of the stamina system I talked about earlier. A more casual player will just try to beat Jupiter in the long run, so just do move after move to try to get him tired. And the second way to play the game is for a skillful player, just use the variety of skills and the moveset at his disposal to try to beat the game. And lastly, I think to get the power really going in the hand of the player, we designed the special powers to feel really intuitive and in the way the game is going. I mean by that the special powers are not a whole new gameplay. They are in the world, and they are things that are really easy to grasp at first glance. And I think this helps any kind of player to take the game and quite easily understand it.
And by understanding it, we came to the point to talk about the accessibility of the game. Thanks to our decision to make accessibility by design, every aspect of our game were impacted by giving the best experience possible to our players. Our main goal was for people with low vision and/or color blindness to be able to play our game. That's why we decided to use high contrast in colors, in the menus and in the gameplay, and for the sound design to be this much recognizable. Even if we were unable to make text-to-speech work fully as it was intended, we were able to implement in our game, enabled by one button in the main menu or in the settings menu with multiple customizable options such as remapping, sound toggles, or tutorials. So in short, Ace of Satan is colorful, fun, juicy, and it fulfills you with power. We wanted every player to feel the fun we had while creating it, and in this galaxy very far away from us. So now, are you in for a little tennis match? Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you. So, who wants to share feedbacks of the when you tested the games? Yes.
I will be quick, but I think you really managed and nailed the difficulty progression. To me, this was really my experience, like really understanding the game, understanding the type of feedback, etc. I retried a lot of stuff. So I think, yeah, I just wanted to say this is really good, in my opinion. And this is something you nailed.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, forgot to present myself. I'm Constance from Ubisoft.
Some feedbacks? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Cécile from Focus, part of the acquisition team. Yeah, I just wanted to put an emphasis on something you really briefly touched during your presentation. So, yeah. Of course, what really works is that you really manage your scope, and so pretty much everything works really well and it's understandable, etc. But something that for me, who is a very, very bad player at that kind of game, really made a good part of my enjoyment, it was the barks, like all the little insults, or not so mean insults, but yeah, it really gave a sense of relatedness. It was fun, it was quirky, so really, yeah, it was really a good idea to put some effort into that, because it really brings the game to another level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a great amount of effort. Me and my sound designer took part in. It was great fun to do the casting, to write the barks, then the recording. It was, yeah.
We want to especially thanks to all the people who were casting for our barks management. I think we owe you a lot. So thanks y'all. There is a lot of people just behind who were casting for this game. So thanks a lot.
Okay. Hello, Javier from Voxel again. Well, congrats in the sense that I'm not too much into tennis, but I enjoy it a lot, even how bad I play. But in that sense, you did great with the info, as everyone says, and even the trail of the ball and everything else helps you to calculate and to do your best, even if you don't play tennis well. In that sense, you have 3 DASes opportunities. That's nice. because for people not playing so good, maybe, I don't know, just as a suggestion, maybe you can recharge that with an extra or something else with the hitting points, because you have 2 hitting points, the first one and the second one. As long as I don't want to risk, I use a lot the second one, okay? So in that sense, to improve and to at the same time to boost, if you have to go risk or no risk into the first shot or the second shot, maybe if you do the first shot, you can recharge a little bit, one more dash or whatever, just in case. Because by now, the first hit and the second hit are equal. In that sense, okay, if you are into the game, yeah, you are going to go for the first hit. But if you are more comfortable, you are going to hit the second one. So something to improve the chance and to get more strategy and to get more tension with that and the recharge. It cannot be so easy, just a few first hits, but even a few more. And then you have the tension, I will grab it, I will not, and then you have something else for it. For all the rest, okay, the narrative elements and everything else, I think you have done nicely, and even the design, the colors, and all the choices you did. But this is just a small tip, just in case, to increase it. Okay? Congrats.
Thank you for the feedback.
Hi, I'm from UTAD. First of all, to congratulate you again, because I haven't been so tense for the last 2 years at trying to beat Jupiter. I hate him with all passion, so thank you so much for making him feel as Rafa Nadal, but less cute, of course. It is what it is. But it was amazing. The AI of the enemy, it's great. Congratulations on that job. Congratulations also on how you have simplified controls, but at the same time giving opportunity to players. I will really encourage you to try to continue and think about more power-ups, more possibilities, because it is quite fun. It is quite fun. But again, the AI and enemy design, it's amazing. It's amazing, and at the same time, you have thought about so many things. The stamina process is quite interesting and quite clear. I will just tell you something about the accessibility design that I was thinking. It is good to not just think about color, but for example, in the case, if you can go back to the slide of the 2 opportunities that are signalized with that one, maybe to change the form of the circles, so the shape is different. It could also be good. I think I will also have loved in the presentation to see the high contrast mode, because, well, it could also be interesting, but it is great that you have thought about that. And again, the result is simply amazing, even for people that don't really like sport games, but this one was quite enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable. So, again, congratulations.
Thanks a lot. It was a real pleasure to have you yesterday.
Hello, I'm Guillaume from Vitruvius, developer. Since you're relying on the AI to make the game interesting, I would like to know what kind of abstraction you used to modelize this AI.
We used a state machine, and we have 4 or 5 states. I don't remember for sure. Oh, sorry. We have 4 or 5 states for the enemy AI. And for each of these states, there are also several possibilities. For example, when the main state is when the AI is moving to give a shot, to get a shot. And he's moving to the ball, and then he make a choice between which shots he will make and which direction for this shot. So yeah, and there is 4 or 5 states like that. I don't know if it's okay for a response, or you want something more precise.
If you can give me something maybe more precise, please.
Yeah. I think we use a lot of randomness, but it works quite nicely. When the enemy AI is in range of the ball, he will try a random shot between the lob shot, the normal shot, and a drop shot. So this is completely random. But as I said, the direction he is shooting is mainly in the direction he is moving, for a straightforward effect. So in that regard, it's not random. The directions are predictable. And sometimes I think this probability grows a bit during the different sets. There is a probability that you did do a trick shots, as I said in the presentation. And for the first set, the probability to do a trick shot was 0%. So for the first set, because it's a little like an odd onboarding, we didn't want any trick shots. And then for the second sets and third sets, we were doing more and more trick shots. So, and also there are more parameters that are changing between the sets. For example, the speed of the enemy AI and the stamina is changed. So in the first set, he's really slow, clunky, and in the final set, he will move really fast.
Thank you very much for the answer, and again, congratulations for this project.
Thank you for this feedback. Okay, Stéphane, I come.
Oh, first, thanks for the presentation, and I didn't have the time yet to play your game, so I will come as soon as possible. And it's in the continuation of the last question. I'm seeing two aspects. If I understand well, your AI does not learn anything from the player. It doesn't change its behavior according to the player. Have you seen through the playtest that the player is able to have a progression in his understanding and play better? That the player understands the AI. If the AI does not understand the player, does the player understand the AI and is in progression in his knowledge of the gameplay?
Thank you for your question. What was interesting during the playtest is that first we saw the player evolving throughout all sets. We could see them learning and be better and better. And even if they didn't quite understand how the AI works, they tried to understand how it worked. So when we asked them what did they think about the AI, they really try to understand it. Like, oh, I think it works with special programming. I suck at programming, I'm sorry. But they really try to understand it, and they explained to us how they thought they understand it. So, yeah.
You design the AI thinking how the player will learn and progress in the gameplay.
Yeah, we designed the AI to feel like a real player in a sense, because he's moving in a quite straightforward fashion. He's doing straightforward moves, the same as Saturn. So we had it in mind that the opponent should be an opponent and not a robot. So and for that regard, I think it's easy to understand the enemy AI because he's playing quite like us. So yeah.
And to add something about the playtest, we could see like 2 steps for the player. The first one is where they learn the game, they learn how each shot works. And then the second step is trying to get a strategy. Like when they know how the game works, the second step is like, okay, now that I know the game, how can I win it? So the strategy was important, yeah, for us.
Thank you very much. We're gonna stop there. Let's congratulate the team. And let's meet them at their booth, for the next match. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's welcome the third team of this morning, Happiness Manager.
Cette vidéo promotionnelle vous est présentée par WorkBuddies, l'entreprise leader du coworking à l'amiable pour employés en quête d'équilibre.
Observez ces deux employés. Remarquez-vous quelque chose? Allons, regardez bien. Cet employé est heureux, épanoui. Savez-vous pourquoi? Car il a la chance de travailler chez WorkBuddies et de pouvoir tester les dernières techniques de coworking à la pointe de la technologie. Mais assez parlé de nous, parlons de vous, notre nouvelle recrue. Nous comptons sur vous pour être le berger, non, le Sherpa qui guidera nos employés. Vous êtes le garant non pas seulement de leur bonheur, mais également de leur productivité. Dynamique, enthousiaste, aimable et à l'écoute.
Bienvenue dans la grande famille de WorkBuddies. WorkBuddies, travailler devient un jeu d'enfant.
Welcome to Happiness Manager, a 3D construction and puzzle game playable on PC. You play the new Happiness Manager of WorkBuddies, a company in which management has decided that employees should have the right to work everywhere they want, without worrying about the physical limitations of the office, such as the floor or the walls. After all, gravity shouldn't be an obstacle to productivity. So your mission from this day will be to rethink the office space using creativity and ingenuity to push back the boundaries of what's possible. So these are our main pillars. So puzzle gameplay based on physicality, an aesthetic inspired by the 60s and 70s graphic design and object design, and a caricature of contemporary managerial abuses.
So our first pillar is the physics-based gameplay. It is at the core of our experience. So as our newly hired happiness manager, you will benefit from our onboarding experience. You've already seen our ad. Now you will have a talk with the boss. He will explain to you everything you need to know about construction. And then you will be able to finally start to work.
Now let's talk a little bit more about your mission as happiness manager. So as you can see, when you arrive in a new office, our employees are already placed where they wish to work in the space. Starting from the yellow blocks, you can start to assemble and connect different types of blocks in order to form a solid-looking structure. So you will have a wood block, a soap block, and then a concrete block. You'll need to be strategic and also keep an eye on your budget that is located in the top left corner of the screen. Once you're satisfied with yourself and feel like the structure is stable enough, you can try to physicalize it to test it. And if it falls, you start building it. You will need to face different kinds of challenges along the way. So in total, in the game, we have 17 levels divided among 5 floors, and each floor adds a variation in the main gameplay. So for example, we have invisible objects. We also have moving characters, and you will need to take into consideration their different trajectories when you build. And lastly, the wind that will put the strength of your construction to the test. So the goal of these variations was to create an increasing difficulty curve while renewing our core loop of building, testing, and iterating on the construction.
So, because an employee is completely useless without their tools, we made a level editor. This level editor allowed a game designer to quickly iterate through the level design process. It is able to edit blocks and their characteristics, quickly readjust the budget. It's very important we don't go overboard. Of course, we can also make the employee move because they got a little bit lazy lately.
At WorkBuddies, we want everyone to feel welcome. That's why we implement in several settings for players to be able to adjust the game to their needs. For example, for the sound, you can separately change the volume of the music, the feedbacks, and the dialogues. There is also a sensitivity filter that you can add if you need it. For the graphics, we have a window mode if you need it, and we also implemented a high contrast mode. For the controls, finally, they are all remappable. To finish with, we created an easy mode for people who need the game to be a bit more easier, so it deactivates budget and block limit. And finally, the game is entirely playable with mouse only. We would have loved to also implement a one-button mode, but unfortunately, we lacked a week to do so.
Now that we discussed your mission as an happiness manager, let's talk about our second pillar, aesthetics inspired from the 60s. So let's dig inside WorkBuddy's office. Our office and employee derived from the aesthetics of the 60s, took mainly inspiration focusing on graphic design and object design of that time. We wanted WorkBuddies to have the atmosphere of the office and workplace of the century. UPS cartoons were also a big inspiration from aesthetics, as they rely on simple shapes, color, are really expressive, and also talk about people's daily struggle in life. As the project is meant to be a satire of the corporate world, but also an extrapolation of what an office is, we chose to rely on this mix of aesthetic to convey our intention. We wanted characters and environments to be expressive, but yet simple. It was a way for us to mix the funny, but yet uncanny vibe of what we wanted to share with our games. A cozy and colorful office that is in fact not that cozy. On a technical level, we decided to mix 3D props with 2D characters to make the characters stand out more and add more depth into the different floors.
So since our art direction is based on the 50s and 60s, we went back a little bit for the sound design, and we chose to be inspired by the films and cartoons of the US of the 50s and 60s. So think whimsical, magical. Yeah, the core part of what we are trying to replicate is that magical feeling, and so think glockenspiel, vibraphone, and string pizzicatos. We also tried to give a vintage character to the game using as much analog textures as we could. So, for example, in the UI, you get a lot of mechanical interactions, so think mechanical switches, papers, and buttons. As for the building phase, which is a big part of how the game should feel, we wanted to maximize juice as much as possible to encourage trial and error while reducing frustration. So it's conveyed through first an audio physics system that is driven by game parameters to convey physicality and weights. Then we want to make the building phase feel like a sort of construction playground, meaning we want to make it fun to build and watch the structure fall apart. Like the satisfaction of building a structure with blocks as a child and destroying it. And the last element providing juice in the building phase comes through adaptive music. We wanted to make the soundtrack of the game evolve and follow your actions. So we tried to build suspense and a sense of reward through the musical segments when the structure is being validated, when it's confirmed to be actually valid.
And now our last pillar is the discourse of the game, a caricature of managerial abuse. The game is set in a current context which is inspired by the graphic and industrial design of the 60s. It's a sort of an alternative present in which the 60s was really trendy and at the cutting edge of technology. With this crossover, our intentions were to depict these two periods. First, on one hand, we wanted to talk about the modern managerial deviances. The office spaces are becoming increasingly flexible and informal, which leads to the development of an insidious work culture, masked behind the lexical set of well-being and caring. But we thought it was interesting to refer to the 60s as well, because the principles of ergonomic design, as in the study of interaction between users, workplace, and productivity, were already set up and sold as a way of life around this time. This discourse takes place mainly through barks with short dialogues that comment the player's action or the environment in which the character evolves, but also with longer introductive dialogues at each new floor, helping us to gradually build discomfort.
As previously said, our employees are strongly inspired by UPA cartoons. They are meant to be archetypes of the corporate world and help carry along our intention. You will get to meet our intern, creative directors, Kiki the dog, the boss, and even more. The animation were also a way for us to make them expressive. Each employee has their own animation, ranging from happiness to total breakdown if you fail a level. After all, it's your job to make them happy.
In the game, you'll pass through different floors of the company from top to bottom, starting in the boss's office, then the cafeteria, the co-working space, the team building space, and finally the trainee's office. As the game progresses, the whole vibe of the game becomes increasingly dull and disquieting, and the employees start to leave the company, leaving only you at the very end, the happiness manager. This progressive uncanniness in the office is also conveyed through sound, with a subtle evolution of ambiances, SFX, and music. We are trying to give off the impression that something is not quite right for the characters in our world. And here's a demo at the start of the game, and then an example at the very end of the game. Thank you so much for your attention. The whole Work Buddies team looks forward to welcome you in our office to begin your duties as a new happiness manager.
Thank you.
Here it is.
So, who wants to share what he felt as being a happy manager?
Hello, again, Guillaume from Virtuos, developer. First of all, congratulations for this project. I really loved the satire that is inside. But as a feedback, I have no problem to orient myself in a serious space, but this is not the case of a lot of players. So maybe you should add some help to let people who have some difficulties to orient themselves in a better way. But apart of that, the project is really cool.
Thank you very much.
I am Catherine. I'm a freelance narrative designer. Yeah, I was really impressed by this because puzzle games are so hard to come up with a mechanic and then the level design and the user testing. So really impressive. Just a couple of things. I think I mentioned at the time with a couple of you, but I thought a little bit more about it. So first, it took me a while, as you know, to really understand how to play, and I think that. Thinking more about it, because you have real physics, but it's not 100% real, right? And I think I was a bit put off by, I guess, like the skeuomorphism. Like you have wood, right? And it's not really behaving like wood unless there's glue. But I might have missed it. You didn't mention any glue factor there, right? I think perhaps if you went, I'm not sure, but if you went more abstract with it, like you know, like those old office. Filing cabinets, they're metallic, but they're sort of they're made out of metal, but they're sort of magnetic as well. I don't know if there was something that sort of let me realize that don't expect it to behave like wood, or expect something not expect the physics to be a little bit abstract as well, because with the skeuomorphism, because I'm not sure if that's the right term, but because you've got these real world kind of materials, I'm expecting a real world kind of feedback a little bit too much, I think. But you know, once I got into it, I found the loop of test and see and test and see. If you can encourage maybe not all players are going to be like that, but if you could say, look, think like a child a bit. You know how children, you know, they try something and then they immediately test it. Once I was in that loop of like, I try a few things, I don't even pose all the blocks, and I test. that was a really good strategy for me. If you could encourage that strategy, I think that would unblock any players who are a bit, you know, perfectionist. And then they build this amazing structure and it all falls down. Because these characters, just looking at them now, I mean, I just want, because you've got the opening sequence where you've got like, you know, this is going to be story, this is going to be world, we're really, you know, we're promising some cool shit here. And at the end, you've got the denouement, you've got the epilogue stuff about where they are now. And because the character art is really cool, like I can really sort of, you can get a real sense of these characters, and I want to hear, you got the barks, and I know, like yeah, I just really encourage you to, and if you take this game further, to look at how other puzzle games sort of bring out character, like Thomas Was Alone, for example. I think it's a good example, and take these characters which look really cool and they're full of personality, and bring them alive in the actual game. Maybe not right in the middle of the play area, like I mentioned, like because the barks, and it's like, get these barks away. I want to mess with my blocks. And yeah, like I think it was cool to have the the manager narrator talking, but you know, if we get some conversations going with between these cool looking characters. Actually, no, these are you, aren't they? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's us.
But you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, obviously you look cool on the screen as well. So. And in real life. So I'll stop there before I get myself in trouble. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, so Quentin Dor, video content creator. I've got one question. Like I was playing this, and my main remark is, because I'm actually kind of dumb, I was like, oh my god, the sheer brain power needed for this. Did you think perhaps of a hint system? Something like, not exactly an accessibility mode, but not something akin to it, but yeah, some hints, perhaps.
So the question was actually brought up during the production, and we tried to think of a hint system or something to make the game a bit easier, but it was hard because we decided that the puzzles shouldn't be close-ended, and there are always many solutions to one puzzle, so we could not. We did not manage to find something that would lead you in a good direction and not confuse you too much. But the easy mode that deactivates the budgets and...
Hello, my name is Nicholas. I work at Ubisoft as a human resources manager. So this really rings a bell. Just wanted to say that the humor in the game was really great. It's I jiggled several times while playing, so that's fun, and I was not expecting that from what I read on the documents and from the pitch, so congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. It was written by Camille here.
Hi, I'm Jaime from that. I want to phrase maybe the accessible mode like easy. Maybe to phrase it as creative could be a good idea. Also, maybe we had a problem with English translation. That we told you about. Don't say connect exactly, but position more, because well, we expected, at least in the first levels, for the characters to move or to be able to walk from one place to another. Maybe even adding stairs, but I think that it's really cool what you have been able to achieve. It's quite easy to replay, to start again, which I think that in these kind of games is a quite important thing, to try things out. I absolutely agree with what has been said. Also, I also agree with the idea of giving more dialogues, or even a little bit pieces of lore or sentence between levels, like now I can get to my box, or now I can get to something like that. I think it was quite fun. And I also think that one problem that a lot of players feel is that players don't fully understand, or at least, sorry, it was on this my case as a player, fully understand what's different between the blocks. Yes, they are more soft, yes, they are more hard, but what does it mean? What does it mean for the player? I even want to ask you, what does it mean from the code, from the game design perspective?
So it's the difference in the weight and in the connection. So you have the basic block, it has a standard weight and standard connection. The soap block is lighter, but also more fragile, so it will break faster. Like you can put three, connect three, they will break. And the concrete one is way heavier, but it has a stronger connection. So the idea is that a good strategy, for example, would be to put the concrete block first, then the wood one, and to finish with the very light one. But yeah, I agree, it's not very clear in the game.
But again, that's a possible way to explain it, also with the connections, kind of like a Lego way to connect them. It's quite good. Congratulations again.
Okay, Javier from Bruxelles. In that sense, congrats, because of the sensation and great aesthetics and the mood and the eras, and that was absolutely lovable. As we talked previously, when you have the message as oddly fitting or whatever, at first I thought they was guiding me, and it was not. So I have a fake tip in that sense, because I think the game was telling me this solution is not going to work. So those messages cannot be random in that sense. You can put them if it's attached to the IA, but if not, please remove it. At the same sense, I want to progress more, but as long as I agree with the of the speakers, you don't have so much help at first. You don't allow the player to engage so much, because I want to test the new materials, I want to test everything else, but at first I spend a lot of time trying just to get a simple solution. So maybe, as all the speakers said, I don't know, as we talk, a small grid at first, and then you remove it or whatever, it's something to make me engage and build something working, and okay, I want more. And then I will go to the next levels and enjoy it at all. At the same time, just a question. The budget is not reducible. So I can spend and can overspend, but maybe if I save money, maybe I can use it in the next level. So you can do strategies and things like that. So by now, every single level is just on their own, but maybe you can connect them and to make the nice player, in that sense, be more comfortable with that. And just a few things. I know maybe as we talk it's about the translation, but you have to take care about the length of the characters, because you know it's not the same in French, in English, in German, or whatever. So when you have a few of the screens, and we saw a glance, for instance, we have the boss level, yes, hiding or impose the text below. So that should be maybe, probably, because of the length of the lines you have tested, and maybe in another language is different. So the fitting is not exactly. So just take care of that in that sense. All the rest is, as everyone says, yeah, I want more of these characters. I want them live, animated, and enjoyable, and grumpy, and happy, or whatever. You have done great in that sense. Congrats.
Yes, I will say congrats, because I'm coming back to the happiness manager. I was feeling at the beginning I wanted to be the happiness manager, and I saw this, and suddenly you get caught by the bricks and your 3D knowledge, and you have to do it right, and you did it, and it's okay, but where was the happiness? And I think it's just a bubble saying, okay, you did your Lego, but are they happy? And I think you work into irony, and we need to have this feedback, because we are the constructors, and we forget that we do the shape, but we don't follow the content, and the content is happiness. And afterwards I said, where was happiness? So just a sentence, something saying you did it well as constructor, but you missed something. Is the main goal, and it's just a lesson for us, because that makes us go forward. Thank you.
That was the point of it. Thank you. Thank you. Let's congratulate the team once again. And let's welcome the fourth team of this morning, of this first part of the morning, Pendrillon.
Hello, and welcome to the presentation for the game Pendrillon. Thank you, dear public. Here's a trailer.
Ce périple sera peut-être ton dernier, voyageur. Il ne tient qu'à toi de le rendre distrayant. Ton aventure te mènera à l'autre bout du monde.
Acceptez-vous de ramener le cœur de l'abjecte créature?
J'ai ramené de mon voyage un trésor qui m'était interdit.
La pièce prend des tournures particulièrement sombres.
Tâche de faire bonne impression.
Prends ça!
Choisis bien quel rôle incarner, voyageur.
Tous les bateaux qui arrivent au port royal doivent être fouillés, c'est la loi. Je pensais pouvoir vous faire confiance.
Car dans ce monde, comme dans celui qui t'attend, tu seras jugé pour tes actions.
Thank you. So what is Pendrillon in a nutshell? It's a micro RPG where the player is an actor in a theater play. Our intention was very clear from the first day. Throughout the development of the game, we ask this question constantly: how can we create a game that actually makes you feel like you're a part of a theater play? And that means that theater should not only be a theme. So the pillars of the game were show must go on, general philosophy of the game. Everything you do is part of the show. Even when you lose a battle, it's part of the story. If you make someone, like an actress, angry and she leaves the stage insulting the audience, it's part of the story, I guess. The audience react to what you do. You should entertain them, and your choices have an impact on the story of the play. That was really hard to do. So your first steps, we wanted to make you feel like it was your first steps on the stage, which probably is the case for most players. That's why we have the prompter, so it will whisper you some advice. We made sure that other characters feel like they are actors too, with their own personality. If you've played the game, you know that, for example, Arl has a personality. And the audience will love or hate you depending on what you do, and they are the only judge, quite literally. So we have two phases in the game. The first one is the acting phase, and we have a battle phase. Acting phase is like a tiny RPG, so we have choices and skill checks, XP, stats, and level up, even if it's very simple. And the combat system, our main goal was we wanted it to be as similar as possible to the acting system, with a boss battle and a state machine. It's programmed entirely in ink and it's turn-based. In terms of narrative, we had several goals. The first one was to maximize player agentivity, multiply interaction with the scenery and the characters. We wanted the player action to have consequences, but also avoid over complexity of the branches, which kind of contradict the other things. So
in terms of consequences, short-term consequences are kind of easy because you work in a scene, so you can change a lot of stuff. Like it's okay because it's a small scene. We have the line that you choose. They will change the scene. We have immediate audience reaction that help us a lot, and also other characters' reactions. Long-term consequences were not so easy. That's a bit spoiler. Sorry, I know most of you guys haven't played the game, but I'm going to ruin the game for you. But the last part of the game is a trial. It's your trial. Your choices have been secretly registered throughout the game, and the last part is a trial where all the characters you've met will come back to testify against you. We show you a short version of the game, but the long version has more characters and choices to make, basically.
So now we are going to talk about the theater, how we made and how we manage it to make it look and sound real. So we choose, first of all, to place the camera in the audience, so we can see all the scene and all the actors on the play. All the decorations are made by with board decorations, and that can provide layering scenes. So we got 6 different scenes in our game, and we choose to use the same asset in different scenes. For example, waves or the moon. Here are 2 other scenes. So we've got the church and the trial. We also wanted to create animations on set. As you can see here with the two pictures, all the scenes have idle animations and transitions animations. We also got characters on our show, 9 characters. They all use the same body. There's also the same 3D model. And to identify them and make them unique, we choose unique colors for each of them, and unique masks. As you can see here, we've got 4 of the 9 characters, and on the right, the same characters, but the 2D characters' faces that you can find in the dialogue boxes.
And moving on to sound, as you know, voice is the beating heart of live arts. So for that reason, we recorded over 9 comedians, and we voiced over 750 voice lines for a total of 50 minutes of voice. So that's a lot, but we managed to go through it, and it was really nice. We booked comedians from the region around Angoulême and some from Bordeaux, and we recorded them here in the studio at JMIN. So we used music as a highlight for impactful moments, rather than music all the time or never. So
Le bois au noyer.
So yeah, the music here highlights, for example, the transition and highlights the encore because the actress is missing from the scene and we wait for her. So yeah, the music is used through the game for specific moments to highlight decisions. So here's the backstage, the view from the top of the theater, and yeah, crafting a real venue was hard because we had to make it sound real, and at the same time we had to make it sound like the people who made the play wanted the public to feel like they were in the real place where the scenes takes us. So we had this double universe to play at the same time, and we made the choice to use mostly recordings and to use no synthesis almost at all in the game, So yeah, most of the sounds are from either sound banks or my personal recordings. And for the crowd and the public reactions, we recorded them right here in the amphitheater. And I want to thank very much all the students who came to give their voice to the public of the game. Thank you very much. Moving on to the technical aspects.
So I will speak about the technical aspects. So our game is on Unity, but for the narrative design, we used Ink, which is a tool for a narrative designer to create some dialogues. And we improved that system a bit because our main point was to make the game designer become the theater director who can put, because now we can put some didascalies on the text to manage the show. And our objective was to help the game designer by creating this tool, and our constraints was to build this on top of the Ink specifications and allow the game designer to stay in Ink to develop, to help him iterate more. So now here how it represents. So on the left you have an example line, and you can see the result on the stage. So here the player moves, then there is the screen shake, and then there's the animation of the hurt animation of the other character. And here just all the tags, all the information we have on the scene.
So accessibility was very important for our game because, I mean, everyone can attend a theater play, so we wanted everyone to be able to play our game. Pendrillon is playable entirely with only a mouse and one click. We wanted the characters to be identifiable, so we used shapes and colors to set them apart. There is no game over. Your skill level doesn't matter in the game because any choice you make will be rewarded, whether it is failed skill checks, which lead to interesting and fun branches of the narrative tree. And even if you lose the battle, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem. You can continue to play the game and have fun, and the show rolls with it. Show must go on. And finally, you can take your time because you don't have. There's no timers in the game. You can spend 10 minutes listening to the ambience and looking at the pretty board decorations in the game. And there is no one to tell you click faster or QTE or I don't know. It's just a dialogue, and you choose when you continue. So we want to thank from the bottom of our heart the cast of the comedians who gave their voice to the game. I'm not going to list all the names, but they are here. And we thank very much the team, Lude, Maxence, Théophile, Romain, and Michael. Thank you. And we thank, of course, you for being here today and playing our game.
Thank you. I see hands raising. I go for the quickest one.
Hi, so I'm still Cécile from Focus. Yeah, so it's a very, very original proposition that you made with some stuff that worked really wonderfully, like the whole theater decor moving around. I really love that part. Like each time there was a change, I was really enjoying it. There are some stuff that work, and I know you are aware of it a bit less. For instance, the RPG systems are very hard to understand currently. And my main issue, I think, is with, in French I would say the situation d'énonciation, because what I see as a player is what the audience of the theater sees. But I play an actor who is playing a character, and then sometimes the game sets goals for me at the actor, and sometimes it's at the character. For instance, like the actor doesn't mind whether the character will be judged innocent or guilty in the trial, you see. So there are times where I didn't know anymore what I was playing, who I was playing, like what my goals were. But so I think it's something that would need to be solved to make the game fully great. But there are really, really some strong stuff, some really creative stuff. So congrats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a very big challenge to make you play. Actually, there's two stories at the same time, because there's the story of the player playing the game, who's an actor, and there's the story of the character who's in the play, who is trying to defend himself from everyone who wants to get their head, basically. And yeah, it was a big challenge, and we kind of succeeded to make people feel like they were actors, and kind of succeeded sometimes to make the players feel like they were characters. And it's hard to find a balance, but I'm glad you enjoyed the game nonetheless. Thank you.
Stéphane, thank you. I didn't play your game, but I spent 20 minutes looking somebody playing the game, which was a great experience. To come back to the last question, I think there is a relation with people who are playing in real life RPG, where they are both in the RPG and a player or something like that. There is a relationship with that. I think that your game should be submitted to contestants, students, gameplay, but you have a big problem. Your game is in French, and I think you should think how you make localization of this game, because you should send it a lot of places. My last comment is, you don't feel one of the constraints of the M1 project. Of course, in 10 minutes, you can see and you can feel the ambience of your game, which is great, but you don't understand all the things you have explained. You need, I think, at least half an hour.
Yeah, you tested the jury tested the shorter version of the game, which is 30 minutes. And we have a director's cut that is 1 hour long with all the scenes and all the characters. And regarding the localization, yes, we plan to send it to various contests, and we will probably translate it to English at least. And the voices will not be translated because it's a whole different organization and time to take to do this. Yeah, yeah, it's a good idea. Thank you very much.
Hello, Constance from Ubisoft, project coordinator. This is me again. So yeah, I wanted to also follow up on that. In my experience, I think we were losing too much of the experience because of this shortened version. To me, obviously, it felt like it was not thought that much from the beginning, like to really see how to shorten it and what sort of quests or acts, I don't know, you're going to take into this experience. And yeah, to me, this was a bit of a problem. For example, when I played, I used to make a lot of choices about money. In the end, I wasn't asked about that. I had to choose from, yes, I took this mission because I was doing it for the queen or doing it for the goddess. No, I was doing it for money. And eventually it didn't matter, but I suppose this is because there was a lot of stuff happening in between that changed a lot. Also, same for the mermaid, actually. I don't know this person. I don't want to like defend her. I have nothing to do with that. So it's not to, like, I'm not telling you it's bad to make a full game with a lot of narrative stuff, etc. It's really great, and I really want to play it. I thought you're going to put it on itch.io. I really want to play it. but it's really important, and that's something to think about, because in the industry, you will have to present your narrative game to a lot of people that won't have to enjoy the full game. So it's really important to figure out what pieces of narrative you're going to put in. So I don't know, a build for journalists, a build for, I don't know, Twitch streamers or whatever. Just so they don't have to spend like 10 hours working on a big game, really playing a big game, and just like 1 hour on some specific main quest and stuff like that. And it has to make sense. And this is why I think it's a good experience for you to have really worked on something very long and to have to shorten it and see, oh, it's pretty difficult to shorten it and have something that makes sense. And I think it's a great learning. So I hope you're gonna keep that in mind. And I also wanted to applaud really the art. It's really amazing. I think there is a lot of work put on that. It really looks like cardboard, so congrats. And also on the audio, it's really amazing.
Hello, so I'm Séverine from Ubisoft. I'm a lead UI designer. So as Constance said, big congrats for the art. It was really wonderful. Animations, sound was really, really great. I just want to go back to one small detail. You talk about accessibilities. I'm a lot into text actually, and please be careful about juggling stuff, because this is, in my opinion, not accessible at all. You made some word juggling, so I thought there was like some kind of emotion, like showing with the text, but actually it was art. No, I don't really know in the end. So yeah, just be careful about this. Fonts are really important. The way you're showing that bold, not bold, italic, really important also, because it means stuff. So this is my last stuff, my only stuff. So, and for the rest, congrats, because it's a big game done in 3 months. A lot of text, actually, a lot of voices. So yeah, it's really, really impressive. So congrats for the rest.
Actually, we didn't talk about it, but we have options with like dyslexic font, stuff like that.
Is it removing the juggling stuff? Because
no, I was talking about like just the police, like the
yeah
itself. Okay. But we should have like we have a way to disable screen shake, but we should have done the same for the effect actually.
Small detail, but it really matters.
Thank you. Last comment? No. Oh yes, I can.
Thank you for that presentation. It's a rather atypical game. I'm very pleased. I haven't tested it either, unfortunately. Sorry, I forgot. I'm Mélisandre, marketing, event, and I'm a fan of cinema and theaters as well. So I haven't tested it, and so I wanted to know about the story. So is it a story that you have fully written? And the other question is about, I forgot. I forgot my other question, but at least this one you can answer, and I will get back to the other one.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's an original story that we made. We thought about using like actual play, like classical play, but the thing is, because you have choices and all, it was more interesting to us to craft an actual story around the concept of the game. But yeah, it's an original story.
Nice. And I'm sorry, I forgot my other question, which was to me important. So I will leave the micro, and perhaps I will discuss that later with you. The branding, the only thing I would tell, because the other groups managed to kind of brand their presentation. That's what was missing for me, because you could have done a lot of things, like the costumes. I don't know, come with something.
Yeah, we don't like to do that. To be honest, we're not very fun in real life, so. But
oh well.
They asked like teachers, they asked us to do it, but we were like, no.
I think you should have. I think you should have.
I guess, but
also it's a lot of work. Like the other students, like they make it look like it's easy, but really not. They have put like a lot of work into this, and we didn't have the time to like prepare the presentation as polished as the others because we are only 5 and we already made a big game, so we didn't have the time to make a...
Understandable. And I found my question, but it's about the last part. So I was thinking already that, you know, having to play an actor that then plays a character in a theater was already good and actually great. But the final part is the testifying, and so I wanted to know if you could tell us a bit more about that, because I may not be able to try the game. I hope.
Sure. So the idea is that it's still a small game relatively to like other games, so it's very hard to have consequences on the long term that feels like consequences. So the idea was like, if you're secretly being like the game secretly catches a lot of information about you, again, it's more the case of the long version, but like it's funny to see the whole cast go back and one after each other say he said that about the queen and he did that for this reason, and he said that the like a goddess was not a good person. I don't know. And so you are being, because it's funny. Usually when you are a player, you make choices that you think are funny, like, oh, I will say that the queen is, I don't know, like not a good person or something like that. And it's funny to realize that you will have to answer for your actions, basically. And so the idea is that the judge is here to set the mood of the trial, but the real jury is the audience, actually. So you have a balance, and you make decisions about how you defend yourself and the mermaid, and you see the balance go like this: guilty or not guilty, stuff like that.
Sorry, I will move on. But thank you, because well, I'm an ex-Capcom employee, and I used to work on Ace Attorney. Is it some of the games you thought of for that one?
Sure, yeah, it's a great game.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the characters says objection during the trial, so of course.
Okay, well, at least it really catch my intentions. Sorry, you were talking. You were saying something. No. Okay. Thank you.
You will have time at lunch maybe to play. Thanks. So let's thank again the team and congrats. And even if we have a little delay, I invite you for a break. So just maybe come back in 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you.
Bah, elle est plus en arrière que les autres. Ah, mais c'est... Attends, je cherche une vraie balle de tennis.
Bon, maintenant que vous êtes assis. Derrière, ça va être chiant, ouais. Ah, mais du coup, vous asseyez quand vous vous levez, vous rasseyez direct?
Hello, hello. Yes, it's on. Hello again. Thank you, Hugo. So hello again. We're gonna welcome the first team of the second session. So let's welcome, a warm welcome to DS, please.
Hello everyone, our team is really happy to present you DS. DS is a cooperative and asymmetrical game for two people that allows you to explore, as a duo, a consensual and intimate domination and submission relation. So, our intention is to show that it's possible to talk about BDSM without complex or prejudice, and that it can be cool. To achieve this, we made a game where players explore and experiment a domination and submission relationship without sex. For us, this goes through a sensual, fascinating and absorbing mood. This is what we tried to make our players feel. Besides that, we wanted to represent two main characteristics of a BDSM relation: the intensity and the link between partners. So, how did we transpose this intention into a playable experience? First, we thought about the gameplay.
In terms of gameplay, as you just saw, there's a player that's called S that is sat down. In front of them, they have a computer. On this screen, they have a circle and a zone inside the circle. They control a cursor with a controller, and their goal is to maintain that cursor inside the zone, inside the circle. Pretty simple. D, on the other hand, has a tablet. They're mobile, and they can walk around the area, the space. They have on their tablet options, sliders, buttons, that they can click on to force inputs from the other player or change variables such as the speed at which the circle moves, the rotation speed, and that sort of stuff. There's a very much thought around the freedom and constraint aspect of everything, where you decide how you want to inject difficulty inside the game as D for S. The goal is to kind of simulate the experience of a BDSM relationship in the sense that you push boundaries up to a certain point, up to a point where everyone is comfortable. And that's all that we're working about. So the difficulty and the flow of the experience is completely decided by the two players. But our experience isn't only virtual. We put a big emphasis on the physical aspect of it. And so to talk about that, here's.
So about the link between virtual and physical experience, we have in-game real-life objects to modulate difficulty, in-game. We have thought about a gameplay that encourages communication and oral communication, and our accessibility is adapting to your partner. So it depends on the person you have with you. You can adapt on. Excuse me. You can adapt. You can adapt to your gameplay and this.
Okay, so for our game, we made sure that both D and S get the best out of their shared experience. First, to connect the players together, we choose to link the players' games with a networking library called Mirror. Second, we decided for D and S to share the same visuals and sounds putting them both in the same headspace. Last but not least, after they are done playing, they will go to a separate room away from the screens to take a moment dedicated to communication. There, they can share if they had a good time playing, they can talk about how they felt, and so on. So how did we create the mood?
Since we all began to converse in the team on art aspects and of the video game we wanted to make, we all shared our thoughts on how could we concretize our intentions, choosing the abstractive way to express ourselves through the game allows people to let their mind drift away towards introspection and question themselves about some subjects, I don't know. And it's a fully presumed creative intent inside the team. So, because our main agreement on this was to evoke sensuality through art, but not explicitly, we chose this way. We want to share through this immersive medium vision about domination and submission dynamics to question this subject. So we had some typologies which permits us to structure the interactions between visuals and sound feedbacks. As a matter of fact, we achieved with the game designers and the VFX artists to set up a layered approach for intensity.
That was some of the sounds used in the artistic. Well, we'll have to do. For this intensity we talked about, we went through a layered approach. The intensity, around this intensity, we designed a system that allows us to have some visual variety and sound variety through all the whole experience, but have a sense of progression. We went through different 3 steps that we designed to be able to have a manageable production and to get ourselves into a design of 3 different steps we could put a lot of effort into. And each step adds a layer of music to it. As you may have experienced in the experience, you go through those whole steps that goes to first some geometric shapes and then more organic ones. And last, something more visceral.
Within each of those steps, we then separated the 2 elements we wanted feedback for: S's performance and D's constraints. Those 2 then affect different sections of feedback. S's performance builds up around the circle and progresses the overall soundscape, while D's impose difficulty affects the borders of the screen. Finally, we design an intensity system that determines the progression of those feedbacks. S's feedback around the circle steadily progresses throughout a step, as long as S manages to keep their cursors within the zone, while D's feedback around the screen borders is linked to the intensity of the constraints imposed by D. The more D maximizes the game's difficulty, the more the borders feedback go wild, and they can go back. Here's to give you an idea of how that looks and sounds. On the left, the circle grows more and more active as you progress within the step, and the sound evolves accordingly. On the right, the borders respond to these commands and can go back and forth in intensity as D pleases.
And now let's talk about the diversity of interpretation we came across. We observed that the experience is either connected for both players or didn't. Opinions didn't differ inside the duo. Some players felt like DS was a tool to explore domination and submission relationship dynamics, which is great. Some thought it was a 1v1 game and did not have a good time. Some weren't in the mood to be put in a domination and submission relationship with their partner at the time. To conclude, we're really happy that you reappropriated the experience for you, that you shared with us a wide panel of interpretation, and that DS opened up a dialogue on the subject. And so this is the DS team. As user researcher Manon Rougin, as game designers Oscar and Vasco, as programmer Estelle, as VFX artist Loris, as sound designer Anzo, and me as producer. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for the lights. Yes. So I need first, we just heard that there were some different diverse feedbacks. So maybe first ones. Yeah, I see two.
Me again, Mélisandre. So your game was one of the 3 games I could play yesterday. So I can actually comment on that one. I played with Mathieu, he's somewhere. We never met before. And so we were put together to experience the game. So first of all, I like to say that it's very bold for you guys, from you guys to have, you know, proposed such a game or such a subject, because of course it's not very common. And I personally don't know much of BDSM, so it was an experience, a first experience, I would say. And what I can say is that I understand a little bit better the mechanics of the game here, rather than when I tried, because on the screen I wasn't sure exactly. I was the dominant, so I saw that I could, you know, manage the how do you call it? I could manage the difficulty for my partner. I could speed up and so on, but sometimes I wouldn't understand the ages, how they would respond, and if I understand, that's what would increase the jauge afterwards. So that it wasn't for me completely clear. Maybe for my partner it was, but not for me. And I wouldn't know how you could, you know, improve that. But as I would just speak about my experience. I really liked the fact that, as you said, at some point it opened the dialogue, because yes, it did open the dialogue outside the game, but even within the game, with my partner, we could. It was like a co-op game, because we didn't know each other. I wanted to be a little bit mean, but not too mean, because I don't know him, because for a lot of reason. And eventually we managed to discuss and to sort of get agreements on what we could do together. So it was obviously a consented relation in that sense, and that's what I think the game can learn. And the aspect of having some tools, external tools like the toys, it's not toys, but handcuffs and bandage and other stuff, would definitely be something that spices the experience. But I personally lacked of imaginations, and when I talked to some of you guys, I realized that a lot of people have done things very differently. And so perhaps it would be good to, at some point, whenever if you sell the game as an experience, perhaps to give some ideas for people, because if we don't know much about the subject, maybe we just don't have those, and we may miss a great experience. And as of marketing, because that's my expertise, I think, thank you. I think you have a lot you can make a lot of it, obviously. Maybe not sell it as a proper video game, but more as an experience, and with like a box. And I mean, there are a lot of things you could do if you were taking this project further. But yeah, I will stop there because there are many other people perhaps who would like to talk about it. But thank you very much because I think we miss that kind of subject in the video game industry, and I really think it's bold. So bravo.
I mostly just have a question because a game like this is, I think the aspect of user research must be really fascinating because you have a challenge here for, you know, like most games are like, oh, everyone likes chocolate or cake, let's give them chocolate or cake, and you're giving them domination and submission, which is you know, like most people are vanilla, I guess, but there's a subculture out there of people who have this real expertise and you know, lived experience of finding pleasure in this dynamic and real knowledge of this. And so I'd love to hear about yeah, I'd love to hear about the user research you did, but you know, I imagine, you know, perhaps learning from the subculture and you know what they would have to say about how to create pleasure from this dynamic. Or I mean, maybe not pleasure's maybe not your goal, but you know, obviously for most of these people in that community, that is their goal.
Okay, so so we did some research. We did artistical research because there is a lot of how to say that, a lot of content in art, in cinema, in photography, in books. We wrote books, but not scientific one. We tried, but there is sadly not a lot of content about this in science. We did forms about cliché around BDSM to search, to know what people think about it, to know more about what about practice of people, and
I did read books about BDSM and a relationship between two people. I did some research on websites were made for BDSM, and we also talked with people who practice BDSM also.
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, we had what Mélisandre thought of the experience. So Mathieu, maybe you can tell us what you felt.
Hello, I'm Mathieu, freelance producer. So first, congratulations for your game and presentation. And yes, it was a bit weird to play with someone you didn't know at all. I had reservations at the start because the staging is obviously awkward. But I think we understood together your intention and the experience while playing the game. And we developed a caring relationship together by communication. So it was great. Just a thing, from my point of view, the experience pad in hand is very implicit, but the mise en scène is too much explicit, and I think that I would have preferred to understand the subject by myself. And that's it. So, but congratulations.
Hello, so I'm Nicholas again from Ubisoft. I agree with what was just said, and I think I would have liked some more onboarding, because I did miss completely the subject until you guys explained it to me when I left the room. And I thought then, oh, it makes sense, I do understand what happened. And for two reasons. First, to understand what was the experience going to be, and for a second reason, if you think about the BDSM fantasy, you defined the boundaries beforehand. You defined a safe word beforehand, and we did not have an occasion to do that. So when I entered the room, I was playing the S role. I arrived into the room, I was given a controller and said, do your thing. Like, okay, so what am I expected to do? At the same time, the fantasy was very present because of what was in the room, about the sound design, about the effects that are nice. But at the same time, I could not really be the role I was assigned because there were no boundaries, definitions, or context beforehand.
So if I may respond, it was a hard balance to find because we wanted to give the dominant person the most agentivity possible and the freedom to be the one to control the onboarding of the other one, and to be able to explain and take the needed time to prepare their duo. So yeah, I think sometimes it worked better. It worked out better than others. We tried to give time to people, but where the balance was hard to find is we wanted to give you all the information needed for you to have a good time and to understand what we were trying to do, while never telling you how we believed you should behave, and that's the tricky part. So. So yeah, I think maybe some things could be done in order to let you have a better idea. But in the end, we did want D to have the most of the control in how you are going to organize yourselves and what you are going to set up for the seance.
Hi, I'm from Utah, Spain. Sadly, I had no experience with this game, which was a real pity because it has been high praised by almost everyone that have experienced it. So first of all, congratulations. At the same time, there is something that I will like to know because I agree with what has been said. It will have been good to have, I won't say a tutorial exactly, but maybe some kind of a pre-preparation, like have you select your safe word? Have you established your boundaries? Because again, you want to talk about it, you want to put that kind of mindset in your players. I agree that maybe not explicitly, but maybe to for more vanilla experience, to create like a vanilla version, a more experienced version. I agree that you have been able to achieve an amazing experience where you can enhance also communication, like tell your partner if you want it harder, like if you want it more difficult, and all that. And my question is, does it become also hard for D if S messed up? Because let's agree with something, if someone is not having a good time, maybe they will also not enjoy. So what's the punishment if S doesn't do it properly?
I think, first of all, to answer your questions about the onboarding things, one of the main things that we thought about when we were designing the interactions of the game was that we wanted to go for something that was a very simple interaction. You just have to move with the cursor, but something extremely hypnotic, or at least that gets you into a certain notion of flow or in the mood. And we thought that giving that and making a little bit harder controls for D to understand makes it so the asymmetrical notions of what you can do and can do when you enter the room as D and when you enter again with S and as S is something that we thought was pretty interesting and pretty pertinent for what we wanted to do. And so, yeah, as you said, to answer your second question, the main thing that D gets out of the experience is trying to make it so S has a good time. So when it doesn't work out, well, there's going to be frustrations between the player. They're not going to progress. Both players have kind of a goal, to be honest. There's a progression in the systems with the intensity system that we talked about. So S not being inside the zone makes it so some feedbacks are going to be a little less nice to hear, a little less nice to see, and at the same time, There's a button inside the game that lets you switch from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and that button fills if you stay inside the zone inside the cursor, which isn't the case if S is not performing well, which means that the players kind of have to find a balance, have to talk about their boundaries, not necessarily before the experience, but sometimes during the experience, because the dialogue is something that we really wanted to promote. We don't want to inject too much of our own comprehension and our own interpretation of what BDSM is, and we're very happy that players do it themselves, whether it be during the session or after.
I think we don't have much time, so yeah, I will talk to you later. We couldn't play the game yet, but just the thing, BDSM is quite physical in that sense, and you go into the visuals and into the melody and audio. But I didn't play it, but do you thought about haptics in the sense that vibration, and because you can change the speed and in that sense the balance between the two in the couple to make more difficult for the other player or whatever. And later on I will tell you about alternative controllers, because you have plenty of options of alternative controllers in different levels, safety levels, to have pressure and heat, cold or whatever, to go into more into the experience. But anyway, just about the haptics, and we will talk later on about the controls. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, sorry, a little bit of a blank. We thought about haptics, and we thought about alternative, kind of feedbacks for players. One of the things that we research is, some of you may know about the pain station, which is a PlayStation that inflicts pain when you don't do things that you're supposed to do, specifically shock you and burn you. So we looked into that, and we were interested in that sort of things. One of the things that we wanted to work on when we did the project is kind of make it so it's an experience that you can reproduce at home. So what we worked on was not necessarily haptic feedbacks, but the physical aspect of the game is one kind of promoted by the fact that one player is mobile, so they can kind of interact with the other player at the same time. It's a tablet and not a computer that they have in their hand, so they're usually going to have a free hand if they want to. And on the other side, we have all the accessories. So there's you can see them in the trailer, but there's some cuffs, there's some chokers, that sort of stuff, that kind of can put you, there's a leash too, that can kind of put you in a certain mood, and you can play around those to also, increment on the difficulty. Like we said earlier, you can cuff the player while they're playing, which obviously makes it a bit hard to control the cursor and that sort of stuff.
I'm sorry, I think we have to stop now, just not to be too late for the break, and so you can have time to exchange with them at lunchtime. So please, let's congratulate the team. Thank you, and let's welcome the next team, which is Nadia, the giant hunter.
Every day, creatures from the abyss climb up a huge rift, trying to invade the surface. You must stop them. Welcome to Nadir Giant Hunter. Nadir Giant Hunter is a speedrunning, fast-paced action game in which you can grapple the environment to kill all the giants as fast as possible.
Okay, so the original idea of the game was to make a mix between Spider-Man and Shadow of the Colossus. Like, just picture the players swinging through enormous monsters and killing them as they go. We thought, yeah, the dynamic controller from Spider-Man with gigantic monsters will fit perfectly and it will make something absolutely epic. Then we thought a bit more and realized this is kind of what Attack on Titan is. So we decided to look into it and took the games and put them in our references. Those references, we use them to define our intentions. We had 3, and the main one was a good controller. We needed the controller to be juicy, fast, dynamic. We wanted the player to feel in control and powerful using it, and we wanted it to be satisfying to use. Yeah, so when we first pitched the game back then, we only had the controller actually. The prototype was about it, and we really thought, we have a toy, we're going to build a war gameplay around it. So yeah, important point. The second one was that we wanted the player to feel a sense of gigantism. The player needed to feel small in front of absolutely huge monsters and a huge rift. And third point, but really important, we wanted the game to be challenging yet accessible. By challenging, I mean player needed to want to master the controller. We needed them to like push one another, so we added a scoreboard, scores, and try to make them, yeah, challenge one another. For the accessible part, we will talk about it later.
So as Alvina said, the core gameplay is about the controller, and the main feature of the controller is the grapple. So we wanted to make a good grappling game. So in order to do that, everything we developed and every choice we made was to enhance the game feel of our controller. We iterated a lot on the grapple in order to be as close as possible to our goals. Our goals were to have a dynamic and fast movement, and also the controller to be enjoyable and fluid, and really fun to use. And as complementary mechanics to highlight our grapple mechanics, we have the attack, because attacking monster gives you purpose. We have dash crystals to help you repositioning and to help with dynamism and game film. And we have the bumpers, which helps you to gain height really fast. Also, we made bouncing on walls to reduce the collisions and the loss of the flow.
Our goal with the map was to create a large-scale environment. A large map allowed the player to fully experience the sensation of speed and, at the same time, create a sense of gigantism with the creatures. The map is a gigantic desert rift that allowed the player to interact with the walls, while also providing an overall view of the creatures' progressions. The map includes various structures and different bonuses such as bumpers and speed boosts to enable players to move smoothly throughout the map, throughout the game. Sorry.
Okay, so about the enemy, we had to design a colossal creature that was in contrast with the environment, as it is meant to be a clear invader in our desert-themed level. To do so, we took inspiration from kaijus and deep-sea creatures. By using bioluminescence patterns, we were able to make it clearly visible from afar, which is a requirement of the core gameplay loop. The deep-sea look gives the enemy an alien identity, which is helpful in order for it to be convincing as a duplicate adversary. As this design was fundamental for the game, we planned and produced 2 main iterations of it. This allowed us an early prototyping of complex features like procedural animation, and to incorporate feedback as well as provide a functional, albeit flawed backup if the final version could not be done in time. After a lot of experimentation, we ended up with a really juicy controller and a very fast-paced game. So we needed to design cohesive yet clear gameplay objects for the player to interact with. We not only chose different colors for the items, but also used different shape and motion languages. To emphasize the energy of the controller, we decided to materialize all core interactions of the game, like speed, attack, and danger, with dynamic feedbacks, like controller vibration, visual effects, and sound effects.
So our third intention for the game was about the challenge. We wanted to give players the motivation to improve themselves and play several times. So for this, we have some replayability. We added randomness to the wave design. To encourage players to perform, we implemented a scoring system, which is the timer. And to encourage speedrun and competition, we implemented an online and local leaderboard. So despite the challenge, we also wanted to try to make the game enjoyable for casual players. So we made several difficulty modes, and we tried to make the controller the easier to learn as we could. For example, with a permissive level design and useful UI signs to help players.
So about user experience, first of all, we were aware of that the simple fact of giving full control of movements and camera in a 3D space would cause playability issues for casual players. Having in mind the fact that our target audience was more on the hardcore and speedrunning side, we still went for simplified controls with limited inputs, and we gave the possibility to players to fully remap them. The game is also playable with both controller and mouse keyboard. We wanted to create a performance-based experience, but also make it as user-friendly as possible, so we implemented 3 difficulty modes, which are easy, normal, and hard. As an onboarding method, we implemented a tutorial and playground scene, where players can experiment with the controls inside the Rift safely, without any giant spawning. So we made sure to have a clear and minimalistic in-game interface, giving away only essential signals for the player. In terms of graphic design, we made sure that every signs and feedbacks were clear and contrasted compared to the rest of the level. Lots of iteration went into playtesting to get feedbacks from users, mainly on game feel and camera behavior. And one of the main goals was to ensure that our game didn't cause motion sickness. And finally, we also thought about localization, and our game is translated in English, French, and Korean.
And as for project feedbacks over the last 3 months, we knew that Nadia Hunter, a Giant Hunter, was an ambitious project for us. We set ourselves pretty high level of a pretty high level in terms of scope and expectations, just due to the kind of game it is, while also wanting it to be relatively accessible. So because of that, we encountered several challenges, trying to balance our intentions and the time and resources available. So in that spirit, and mainly based on play test, and feedbacks, we tried our best to make always the smart decisions as a team. For instance, we made some concessions on one of our intentions, which is the sense of scale and gigantism that we mentioned earlier, just in order, and that's the case for all the decisions we made, to keep the controller, the juice, and all the related features as the main priorities for our game. So in the end, we are very satisfied with the results, and we hope you are too. Thank you.
Thank you. So who wants to react? I know that you played yesterday, so let us hear what you felt by playing. Thank you.
Hello again, Guillaume from Virtuose, developer, blah 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 blah. So you're aware that you've chosen a difficult controller. I've seen when I've played the game that you've put some help on the HD. Do you have some reflection to improve those help to not lose the player, because a lot of players have difficulties to move in fully 3D environment like that?
Yeah. So yeah, at first we wanted to do like a full tutorial that would be a better onboarding, like where you push the player to use each mechanic in turns. Whoa, that's how you grapple, that's how you swing, that's how you dash. This is a weak spot. This is what you need to like attack if you want to kill a monster. But yeah, time issues. So we kind of had to size it down and make like a written tutorial. But of course, like, doing the onboarding with real mechanics would be better.
Okay, I think I've explained myself really poorly. That was not my question. My question was about the HUD. You know, when you can send the grappling on the side, on another side. Since when you're moving fast, it is difficult to know if you can use the left or right grappling. Do you have some idea to improve those feedbacks to the player, or?
Yeah. What we had, but we deleted it later, but what we had was like the inputs were below the player, like when you could like grapple on the right, the input for right grappling was showing off, but it was a bit too much. Maybe we should add it as an option or make it like deactivable in the settings for people who don't need it, but might be a good idea to keep it.
It was very distracting for not really helpful for the player when we tried to do that.
Then again, Quentin Dor, video content creator. There's one question that I have, because your project was one of the very few, I think, that had several difficulty levels. So I only experienced normal mode. What were the differences between easy, normal, and hard?
Between difficulties, we try to not change the controller, because the game feel would be different between the modes, and this is not what we wanted. So it's all about the monsters, the quantity of monster, and how fast they climb. But in easy mode, we still made the choice to the distance for interacting with weak spot, dash, and bumper is increased in easy mode, because even if we didn't want to change the controller too much, this was necessary for making it more accessible.
Okay, thank you. I think you've done a wonderful job of difficulty, by the way. I was kind of worried about the difficulty of it, because from an outsider standpoint, it looks like very technical. I was like, plus I have motion sickness, so I was like, okay. But no, it went very well, so congrats on that.
Thanks.
Thank you. So yeah, about motion sickness, it was one of the main goals of playtests, to know if it was causing motion sickness or not. So this is what allowed us to benchmark the game and to know that it was okay for motion sickness purposes. Thank you.
You, some more comments? Oh.
Yeah, so I've talked about the HUD, but did you think also to add some elements in the world to help the player to know where, when he is in a case, he can grapple or move somewhere or stuff like that?
Maybe I can answer this. So we tried to implement a system where you had clearly the inputs that were spawning on screen when you could grapple with LT or T. And like lots of people thought it was a debug function, so it wasn't working in this sense. So we chose to remove it in the end. So the in game at this time there is like targets indicating you where you can grapple. But we're also aware of the fact that they move really faster on the screen and they can be difficult to notice. Did I answer the question or not? I'm sorry.
Can I ask my question in French, maybe? Yeah. So, du coup, en français, ce sera peut-être un peu plus simple. Non, j'ai parlé de l'ATH avant, mais je pensais aussi dans le monde, dans le level design, est-ce que vous avez pensé à avoir des points d'ancrage qui permettraient aux joueurs de peut-être mieux comprendre à quel moment il peut se rattraper ou non? C'était une des difficultés qu'il y avait dans le jeu, à mon sens.
So we did not explicitly say it in the game, but everything you see, you can hooked on it. So like every bridge, every wall, everything you see, you can grapple. Does this respond?
Yeah, I've understood that, but I was more talking about getting specific 3D models or stuff like that to help the player to understand when he can or not grapple. As an example, you got in Horizon, for instance, you got a paint in the wall or stuff like that, you know. But you've done a great job, so thank you for the experience.
So if there's no other questions, no remark, yes.
Yeah, I think that you have done a great job to try to make accessible a genre that is not. I still encourage you to try to give more game options to modify the experience, just because also pointing out that your game is for speedruns. Speedrunners love to create their own challenges, their own thing, their own categories. I don't want to kill 50, I want to kill 1,000, and let's see how much time. So I highly encourage you to leave the players the possibility of personalizing, of even getting auto-aim. That of course will change absolutely the experience, but let the players choose, because you have created a simple concept, the controls are great, and it's manageable, but give the players maybe a little more leeway. And I would love to know if you have thought about more abilities for the player, because it looks really cool, and then it could be amazing to also have more options.
One idea we have, but we didn't have time to work on it, would be to just let player personalize the difficulty of the game, and as you said, choose how much monsters they want to kill, how fast they climb, how far the interaction is possible, and making it personalized.
Great. Great.
Thank you for your feedback.
As we are a bit ahead, late, if there's no more remarks or questions, I will invite you to congratulate again the team. And let's welcome the last team of this morning, JMIN.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the JMIN presentation. So in this presentation, we will mostly talk about our intentions for the game and how we managed to make them. So, as you may already know, because you played it yesterday or with the trailer that we show, JMIN is an action and rhythmic couch game where the players are in cooperation, and our main targets with this game are the casual and mid-core gamers, and of course, the enjoyers of rhythm games. At the beginning of the project, we set up our game pillars that accompanied us in the entire development of the game. So for JMIN, we wanted to make the game more enjoyable to play in cooperation, always with rhythmic inputs and all wrapped up with juicy feedbacks.
So in JMIN, you play as 4 dragon bards who fight against barbarian humans with their magical music. The game has a top-down camera view with a fixed distance that follows a live player group to avoid zooming effects, traveling, to cause motion sickness, etc. So JMIN is played with a controller. We wanted to have a few actions, simple, and allow the player to play with it and combine them in cooperation. You can move freely in the arena with no rhythm constraint with the left stick. There is a name option to use with the melody action with the right trigger that plays an area of effect like musical shit that deals damage to the enemies. There is a call or stun attack that allows the players to have a crowd control option. And there is also a dash to move rapidly around the world and avoid the danger. For our gameplay loop, the main objective in JMIN is to survive the humans' attacks. And to make them dance to stop the fight, and so they realize that finally the dragon music it's not that bad. To achieve so, the players have to stay on the beat to succeed their action and their attacks. They have also to avoid being overwhelmed by the crowd of enemies. And they have to help each other by reviving each other and, for example, stun enemies in an area of damage, for example. And by doing so, they are rewarded by satisfying VFX and SFX and beautiful melodies. And there is also a huge satisfaction feeling where they are pulling off co-op action between each other.
So, as our artistic direction is based on a medieval fantasy world, we were mainly inspired by the game Spyro on several points, from the humanized dragons standing on 2 legs to the bright colors, as well as the cartoon styles, which fits well with our game's intentions. In JMIN, we play as 4 musical dragons, Olos, Lyra, Hendrax, and Halto. Their different colors make them clearly distinguishable, both in terms of characters and above all in gameplay. As musicians in a medieval universe, the idea was to give them the appearance of bards, both in their clothing and with their instruments. Yet in the game, they don't each have their own instruments and all have a lute for the moment. As magic is used through instruments, they are stylized in such a way that our dragons can make them their own. Rhythm is also in the animation, where every step is punctuated by music. The tail also serves as a metronome to visually assist the player. Our dragon will have to deal with humans who want to silence the music. So they've been given the appearance of barbarian knights. They were equipped to go into battle against magical beasts, but in the end are wilder than them, whether with their spikes or the war paint they wear. This animal and ridiculous side was also reflected in the character by making him fight with a horseman's lance and charge like a bull. For the environment, it serves as an arena for our players, so it's simple and restrained. Being runes, our characters fight in a place steeped in history and magic, which also lends itself to the rhythm of the music.
In terms of feedbacks, we wanted to do something really juicy and pleasant. The objective was to make the player enjoy using the different possible action with both visuals and sounds. So for the dash, for example, we tried to do something smooth and quick with squash and stretch at the end. As well for the cord attack, this action is supposed to stun the enemies, so our intention was to do something really impactful and brief. And the last action is a combination of music chords and needs to be handled during 4 beats. So to stay in this theme, we decided to show it like a music sheet, which had notes moving on it. The bump indicates when the spell inflicts damages, and for more readability, we had a preview of this session at the beginning. But it's lagging.
Our aesthetic intention for the sound part was to immerse players in a medieval fantasy universe. To achieve this, we composed music that evokes fantasy using anachronisms to accentuate the colorful and cartoonish aesthetic of the game. We incorporated instruments from various eras, such as harpsichord, cello and flute, as well as hand percussion like cajon for the rhythm section. Our other intention was to allow players to play music in rhythm, incorporating a musical dimension into the player feedbacks by adding an instrument layer to the sound design. This led to a challenge: make the dragon's spells sound right in any situation. This instrument layer can be heard in various feedback sounds: the basic attack, the melodic attack, the heal and the revive. And you can also play music in the character selection menu. The challenge was to harmonize them with the background music. So we did this thanks to music events queue in Wise that allowed us to identify which chord was playing in real time.
So we had some development constraints. First of all, we had to make a complex rhythm game system using both Unity and Wise. We had to sync all players and both enemy attacks, also as well as VFX and animations, which are all synced to the beat. All of this while having a co-op arena fighting game with up to 4 players. We'd have a complex character system and use Unity input system.
Earworm is a rhythm game, yes, but it's mostly meant to be a game you play with friends, and that meant we had to account for casual gamers' experiences. And what better mode than that, than a mode that allows you to completely bypass the rhythm mechanic of the game. We had a mode in which you simply had to hold buttons for the game to play itself, and that you would play at the same rhythm as other players. Apart from that, we also implemented unlimited health as a toggle for players who would be uncomfortable to deal with the massive waves of enemies. And we also included further rhythm help with a metronome and a rhythm helper display. Apart from that, we implemented and designed individual player settings for concurrent translations and remapping per player.
So what's next? In the future of the game, we want to add more features. As, for example, add the other dragon instruments that you've seen before, so the flute, the lyre, and the violin. And also add more accessibility features, just like input remappings and individual controller vibration, to let more players the possibility to enjoy and play our game. And this concludes our presentation, and we want to thank you for your attention. We are ready for your feedbacks, and if you have any question, you can come see us afterwards, and have a nice lunch.
Thank you. So first question before lunch.
Please, I have been preparing this, your whole presentation. As a writer, I have a demand, but again I repeat, it's not a command. In order to improve and combat the baddies, give poetry and a voice to those scullies. So please. Add poetry, add verses. It will be great to listen to those bards. It could be really, really great. When I was playing the game, I was having the, don't know if you remember the song of The Witcher, like, when a humble bard. All that, it could have been great. I think it could add so much to the personalities of the characters and to the story. It could be great. The theme was amazing. It's even easier for a goose like me to play a game or rhythm, which is, again, I'm a really bad player of those kind of games. So please enhance your experience because it's great. Congratulations for your game.
Okay, so in the same sense, okay, poetry, but combos. Because yes, you have the rhythm. You can even hit with four times, but change those A, B, B, A, B, whatever, and give me different opportunities to create strategies in that sense. As we talked previously, when you have to heal a partner, maybe do it not yet to recover the 3 hearts at the same time, because it's quite hard. Finally, we died without any option. But maybe, okay, I can revive you 1 heart, you will move slowly, so it's more dramatic. And in case I can be in help, yes, for another chance. But all the rest was absolutely enjoyable. In that sense, is the feeling, the sound, the graphics, and everything else, you have done great.
Other feedbacks, questions, reaction? You shouldn't have said lunch, you know. Yeah.
So, donc Séverine, as we were talking about improvements, so yes, I think won't be the only one here to say congrats, because yes, it was really fresh, really beautiful. I love the dragon, everything really, really nice, so super art direction. Congratulations. And yes, I have the feeling that the game can be more, in a sense that with more archetypes, even for enemies, but also for not just dragons, but really more different. That's true. I do understand in 3 months you couldn't have the time to do different, but several times I were lost inside the screen, like, where am I? What am I doing? So that could be a really plus. Why not having items? I don't know if you've thought about that, like shields or power-up, or I don't know, whatever. You can imagine a lot of stuff. Combos, of course, and maybe more improvement in the level art. Maybe we can play with that. So actually, when I see your game, I see a lot of improvement, a lot of stuff to do. So I don't know if you plan to keep going and keep pushing, but I would love to see more. So yeah.
Ah oui, c'est vrai, bah oui. Thanks for your feedback. Yeah, we thought about a lot of. We had a lot of ideas, but we are limited in time. We thought of, for example, an item system. For example, we'll modify the effects of your for your chord, like or for the melody. For example, replace it by a shield, for example, instead of a damaging area, stuff like that. But we also thought about different archetypes of enemies. We would, if we have unlimited time, for example, we would put different areas with transitions. But yeah.
But this proves you had a good scoping, because we are projecting ourselves in the next steps that you might have, next improvements, etc. But it means the core experience is understood and was delivered properly. So good job.
Je t'ai vu, Mélissandre, j'arrive.
That's why I put a rain jacket. Thank you very much, guys. I played your game, so it's one of the free games I could play yesterday. So I really enjoyed myself. I agree with most of the feedback you already received. What I will say is just that you never, I think, mentioned the game as being a sort of beat them all. But for me, what I played, I was like thinking I'm playing a beat them all game. Is there a reason why you don't mention that? Well, is it me that have not a good way of thinking on that game? Because, okay, second time I played, there were a lot of enemies. And we were just the four of us as dragons, and it was extremely difficult to actually get rid of them. And I felt really like playing a beat them all game.
Thanks for your feedback. We don't really had the beat them all aspect in mind. We were really focused for benchmark, for example, period. We were really focused on rhythm game, like Crypt of the Necrodancer, Metal Singer, stuff like that. And but we really had in mind, for example, a Vampire Survivor for the aspect of the waves of enemies coming at the player. So maybe it's come from here. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, all right. But it was very enjoyable, and the music is really nice too, so good job for that.
Thanks. You can applaud Fred for the music.
Bravo.
Okay, I think... No, I'm just looking if there's other remarks or comments. So I think everybody's hungry. So thank you. Let's thank again the team, please. And all the teams of this morning. So thank you. And so let's a big round of applause for all the teams of this morning. And let's make a break so you can have the lunch downstairs for the jury, and maybe some time to test some of the games you missed. And let's go back here for 2 to start for the 6 remaining great projects. Thank you.